So, what brought you to the patio?
You did.
That's too easy.
Ah.
That's way too easy.
I think I saw on Instagram one of your posts about another conversation you were having, and you were talking about just the need for us to have more conversation, and with all that has come out, I feel at a loss to say with George Floyd, because this has been going on my entire lifetime, certainly yours.
Do you mind sharing how old you are, or do you rather not?
I'm 58.
You're not even that. Get out of here.
I am. 1961, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So, I remember some things that are really hard to remember. But this time, it was about you. And all of the young men and women that I have taught over the years, that I just want to take a ball bat to make things different, and yet I had to re-examine my own hesitance to enter into that, to really enter into that, because you know that I love you. You know that.
What's understood ain't got to be explained.
But what else do you need from me? I think that's the main reason I'm here. I want to know what you need to say to me, or want me to hear, or I just want to be here for whatever you need.
That's good. I love that. I love that, because that's the posture. It's the posture so many people have taken who've come here. Is, listen, I know I need to listen more. Like, I'm here to listen. I'm here to be an ear. I'm here to be an ally. In so many words, that's like the tone a lot of people have taken. Our relationship is such that we go back so far. You were, and I was thinking about this all day today. You always do this to me, you know that? I was just thinking, you're one of the most important people in my life, period. And I was thinking about, like, not only have you influenced my life and been such an integral part of that, in the space I was at that time, sitting in your office all those times, and you just leaning in with such a sincere and genuine ear, not only that you influenced, like, you saved my life. You saved my life, and I will always be, I'll always just hold you in such a reverence for that. And so for me, I think I've just been kind of thinking about our relationship, and I entered into, like I was referencing earlier, I entered into a community that I was not familiar with, because you invited me into that community, And we're speaking LGBTQ plus,
That's
right. And I'm still learning. And we got to come back to that, because the current climate of our nation and our world has brought me even closer to that community. So I want to dive into that, but I think, as I was thinking about, what do I want from this, if that's even the right question. I really want to know your experience with the black community. I really want to know, maybe it's going to be hard for you to say, but I want to know, like, what has been your experience with racism? Like, what has been, not just like, oh, I saw somebody, and I can imagine you've heard a lot of N-words, you've been around people, maybe even your family, but I want to know your connection. I want to know your connection to straight out racism.
How long do you have? of my earliest memories is going to a barbecue place way out in the country, just outside of Shreveport, Louisiana.
Okay.
I was probably about 3, 4,
You
maybe
remember
at the
that?
most. I remember that. I have a snapshot memory of sitting in the kitchen with my mom and dad, my aunt and uncle, and my cousins. And we are all white. And everybody else in the entire place was African American. Is that the term that you prefer, or do you prefer that I refer to you as black?
I love where that's coming from, because terminology is very important within your community, right? I love that question, but I'll tell you, it's not that big a deal for me whether you say black, African American.
Okay.
You can say black, I'm not offended. And I think that goes to just a personal relationship. And I was telling somebody else who came here from ACU, say black, she had a hard time. Even saying African American, she was getting stuff like, African American sounds forced to me. Just say black. Especially, say black. Like that.
Yeah.
You're good.
I've learned though that is different for different people. Even when there's a good relationship there. So I appreciate that.
That makes sense.
So we're in this place, the barbecue, my uncle has told everybody, and I know this from having since talked about this experience, because I was just tiny at the time, but I remember sitting in a high chair, and I remember looking from my high chair through a door into the dining room. And there were nice tables and chairs, and everybody was seated at the table and chairs, but everybody in the dining room was black.
It was black.
And if we were white, and so we ate in the kitchen. And the name of the place was the N-word, Ike's. And that's what everybody called it. And my uncle had been...
G-G-E-R.
Yes. Yes. Keep in mind, Donovan, this is 1964-65, okay?
Yeah.
This is the heart of the civil rights movement going on.
Yeah.
And so we went there with respect for our place being in the kitchen at that time, of that role reversal, if you will. Fast forward, though, not really, it's about the same time, and every week my mom cleans our house with a woman who is black, named Loretta. And Loretta was a woman who cared for me all my life. And my mom had met her when her first husband died, and some friends hired Loretta to clean my mother's home so she could come home from the hospital after her husband died to a clean home. Well, from the mid-50s on, Loretta continued to work with my mom. And I remember my mom telling me very specifically that Loretta helps her, and they cleaned together, and they cooked together. I remember seeing them in the kitchen, and Loretta would teach my mom how to cook different things. And Mama would say that the very first time Loretta was there over lunchtime, my mom fixed lunch for the both of them, and she sat it down at the table, and Loretta took her plate and she went in another room, and my mom said, no, we're sitting at the same table. That's the heart of the mother who raised me, and yet I grew up hearing slurs. I grew up hearing jokes. I grew up hearing and not thinking anything of using the N-word. That was a part of my heritage too.
So it was a part of your vernacular.
Yeah.
Coming up.
As a little girl.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you for being bold enough to admit that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when the schools were first integrated. I was in the 5th grade. So for 4 years of my life, I didn't go to kindergarten. For 4 years, I've not ever gone to school with a child who is black. But in the 5th grade, there were 7 black children in my homeroom class. And we went as a class to every subject, and so we
And what city is this?
This was in Wichita Falls.
Oh, really? Okay.
This was in 1970, and it took a court order. It took a court order to obey what had been the law for like 14 years. So that tells you about the community in which I was raised. It was predominantly white. There was a black part of town, and it was later in my life, it was in college, before I ever really learned my way around that part of town when I worked for the Boys and Girls Club one summer. And I was the only white person who was there every day, all summer long. And I had about 30 little 5-year-old black girls who were absolutely precious to me. I can remember some of their names. They just kept me in stitches and riled me up for talking and being silly and running around, but that was a really sweet experience to me.
Okay, so were you taught by your parents or your grandparents, like, these people are other than or less than, or?
No. And yet, I look back now and I see that my family's use of the N-word, not, you know, it was never used in a hateful tone. It was used in a joking tone.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, well, no, it's not. I'm not even going to make that comparison because that's not. That's just not consistent. And I see that now in a way that I did not see that then, because I would have told you, no, I was not raised in a racist home. I was not raised to be prejudiced one bit. In fact, I remember my mom talking to me about befriending children who had to move to another school. No choice of their own. They were bused to another school, and what would it feel like, Sally, for you to have to do that? And so I became friends with Rosalind Smith and Pam Easter. And those little girls I invited to my birthday party in September. And I could not understand why they did not come. I didn't know why they didn't come. I've thought about that a lot in the last few weeks. How difficult it must have been for their moms to think about what would it be like to allow my little girl to go into this white girl's home, not knowing my parents and how they would be treated. Of course, they couldn't let them come. I have searched and searched for Rosalind on Facebook. I'm friends with Pam on Facebook, and we keep in touch, you know, through our high school reunions and things like that to this day. but I was never, ever taught that someone was different, and certainly not less than because of the color of their skin.
This is gonna be a shit show. In the spirit of just full transparency, I can't reiterate enough how much I love you. You know, I'm purposely not looking at you because your eyes have done this to me since college. I can't even look at you without.
I won't look.
So, and it's okay. Because when I look you in the eye, you've seen my humanity. And that's something I'm learning in all of this is, and I think I'm trying to teach, is seeing someone else's humanity. And it goes back to my relationship with the LGBTQ community, which I still want to get into. But whenever you counseled me, when you sat with me, when you prayed with me, you always saw and uplifted my humanity. But I'll be honest, like when I've seen pictures of you, before your mom passed, God rest her soul, like seeing your older parents, there was just something innate in me that always just like you're my spiritual mother. You could be technically my mom. Like,
exactly,
right?
I could be.
So
I'd be proud to claim you.
I'd be proud to claim you. I still am proud to claim you. But just knowing that, it's just something I think innate in most of the black experience, that older white people have a very direct tie to a racist history. And so seeing pictures of your dad and seeing, I know I trust you, love you, and I know he's probably a sweet man, but like I couldn't help but to think and have this mystery and have this suspicion about would he feel the same about me that you do? Would he treat me the same way? Would he believe the same things that you think about me? So yeah, asking you those questions and just hearing like your truth and your history is very enlightening, because I honestly was not expecting that. I was ready. I think I was ready for some. I don't know what I was expecting, but I was ready for something harsher. So that's different. But it goes. I think it goes back to the whole reason for these sessions and sitting down is the trauma of the black experience. Doc, like how I can't get out of my own way. You know what I mean? Like it's not a choice.
Yeah.
We talked about choice before we even turned the camera. Like it's not a choice for me. I don't get to choose my suspicions or my innate mistrust of people who don't look like me. Police especially. We're not even there, but just an older white man in line in front of me. A woman on the elevator. I don't get to choose. When I moved into this house, our neighbors lived right there. Most amazing people. Amazing. They bake for us every year. They bring treats over. They're in the husband's in the clergy. The wife, they all like do music together. They had like a traveling music show. They're amazing. When I bought this house, I don't know if you saw this story or heard it, but I was standing out here in the yard kind of looking over some things. I think I was by myself, and I had bought the house. I think I'd already closed, and I'd come before I moved in and just kind of. Sure. I remember her coming over and just being so enthusiastic and excited, like, "Oh my gosh, your new neighbor!" And I was like, "I can't wait!" Like, what? Yeah. And I remember physically stepping back from her.
Wow.
Because I knew, like, I don't have the luxury to engage this white woman. And honest, everything in me was like, no, this is a setup. Like, I don't. All you gotta do is watch When They See Us, right? About the Liberated Five. We don't call them the Central Park Five anymore because they've been liberated. The Liberated Five in New York City that had the rape case go. It wasn't even that I thought about them. I don't even know if I knew about them at that time. But I knew, white woman approaching me. I don't know her. I'm about to live here for permanent. No, I'm not about to get. I remember that. I remember putting a guard, a wall, stepping back. And I remember calling my fiance at the time, being like, "Babe, you have to deal with our female white neighbors. I don't have that luxury. I don't have that privilege. This could go south so fast." And I remember telling her, and she, was kind of like, okay, like she trusts my leadership, but I remember having to tell her that, and so going back to that point of just the traumas and because of like the experiences, and I'm sorry to even have to think that about your dad, and your parents, but I'm so uplifted knowing that wasn't the case, but that's part of his experience.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
It does. And I absolutely despise that you have to have that thought run through your head for 1 second. Because I know you, and there's nothing that could be more foreign about you than to be some kind of danger to anybody. I know that about you. I would trust you with my life. If you want to know about my dad's best friend, his name was Grady, and they worked together out at Shepherd Air Force Base in civil service for 25, 30 years. And after Grady retired, his wife was in poor health, and so he and my dad didn't get to see a lot of each other, but they talked on the phone. And
was Grady a black man?
Grady was a black man. Yeah. Yeah. Grady read the book I wrote a few years ago, if you remember, where I come out as gay in that book. And Daddy...
That wasn't the namesake of the movie.
Yes,
it was. Same book. Okay.
It was, yes. Daddy wanted Grady to read that book. And in the book, it says some difficult things about my dad and some struggles that he had. But my dad wanted Grady to read that book. And I'll never forget where I was sitting, the phone call I got from Grady telling me how proud he was of me for writing that book. And then he said, "Put your daddy on, because I want to tell him how proud I am of him for being with you," and all of that. When my dad's brother died, it was Grady who went with my dad to the funeral, because as Daddy said, Grady's more like a brother to me than my own brother.
That's deep.
That's the truth, and that's what I come from. We have made plenty of mistakes, but that's a part of my heritage too.
What is... this is a loaded question, so talk through it all in your own space, in your own time. I want to know, what is your relationship with the black community and your experience? You talked a little bit about experience of racism, but specifically with the black community. And I'm talking more macro than... I know it's going to be like, I have some black friends, right? Like, I really want to know your experience with the black community, because I know the community that you're part of. And also, I want to hear your thoughts on Black Lives Matter. And some of the discussions you've had, the dialogue, everything. So I don't care if you talk for the next 20 minutes, dive into it.
Well, you feel free to interrupt me and guide me if I go down a rabbit trail. Because I'm good at going down rabbit trails.
I'm good at listening to you. I do that all day.
Bless your heart. He listens a lot. I don't think I have any experience with the black community. I have experience with sharing life with you. But that's within the confines of a community that is predominantly, overwhelmingly white.
Being a religious community, are we talking, or just your circle?
Originally,
okay.
ACU, predominantly white.
Yeah.
I think, probably the Christian community that I know is certainly predominantly white. I think that's one of the things that I've been made aware of. Is that, here I'm sitting here telling you, well, I've known people who are black all my life, and I had friends at school who were black, and my dad's best friend is black, and our neighbors across the street were black, and they came over for supper sometimes. But all of those people entered our world, and we never entered your world. And therefore there's no opportunity for those worlds really to mesh and intertwine. I'm just talking out loud. I don't know that's a solution, or I don't know what the solution is, but I know we've got to keep talking until we find one. Because as far as what I think about Black Lives Matter, Black Lives matter. Black lives have always mattered to God, before the beginning of time, and always. No matter what happened, Black lives mattered to God. And right now, they better matter to us, because it's long overdue. And the idea that saying that somehow negates the fact, the truth, that all lives matter, is not the point. The point is, a bunch of crap has been done to people who are black. And it is time to hone in on that world for just a moment and say, yes, let's affirm people that we love.
Yep.
We claim to love, we really do love. But you want to argue and say, no, all lives matter.
I think I saw it best, a post the other day from, I think it was a Christian circle, but anyway, it was like the people that, if you're an all lives matter person, read John, I'm not going to get the scripture right, it was in John, it's in a couple of the Gospels, basically when Jesus tells the parable of the lost sheep. You have you have the 99, yes. Right?
I saw that cartoon.
You saw that, right? And so he goes after the one. Well, do the 99 matter? Of course, but the 99 aren't the ones in danger right now.
That's exactly right.
So we got to go after the one. And we are the one.
That's right.
We are the one, man. So people are like, we have this protest fatigue, this dialogue, like all this fatigue. Like, this has been a month. I've lived this life all my life.
Exactly.
Y'all are tired of talking about this after a month? Like, I can't get off this hill. I can't afford that. Like, and for whatever reason, God has called me to this moment right now to be, a voice. I don't even want to say on the front lines, but just a voice and using whatever platform, whatever I have that He's given me, whatever gift, whatever He's given me to say, like, it's not enough. Right. It's not enough to just post. It's not enough to repost. It's not enough we got to show up in these moments, and then we have to create space, and we have to live and learn. I had a guy text me last night and call me. He texted me and he was like, "Are you free or are you busy?" I was like, "No, I'm chilling." I really didn't feel like talking, I'll be honest with you. And but I was like, "All right." My wife had already in bed, and he was like, "I just got off a text conversation. I feel like shit. I went to high school with this guy." I was like, "Hit me up." So we talked. He has a black friend, and he was like, he gave me the rundown. They had this conversation. So long story short, and I forget the context because he kept saying, he said that he was trying to figure out why people use a certain word in place of another word. He basically is like, it's a replacement word, kind of like freaking is a replacement for the F word, you know? Kind of like shoot's a replacement for shit, right? Like, you know, so he was like, and then he said kind of like, oh, thug. It was thug because it was an article he read. It's like, thug is a replacement for nigger. And he was texting this. He was like, I think that's a replacement word. He was texting his black friend. Okay. His black friend responded and said, please don't ever use that word again, like, with me. And then he said, like, why do you think it's okay in any context to use that word with me? And this is all through text. And then he gave me a little more context. He's like, Donovan, 8 years ago, and they're friends. He's like, we went shooting together, we went to a gun range, and he was like, and after before we went, he asked me, am I going to be the only black guy there? And he was like, he kind of laughed it off, like, I don't know, what the hell, you know, I don't know. So then he's like, you know, whatever, we kind of went about it, and then but he said that he kind of made a joke, like, oh, it might be some old racist white guys. This is in Syntax, in Temple, Waco area, I think. It was like, might be some old racist white guy, like, oh, what's a nigger doing in here, something like that. He said that. Wow. And at that point, this guy, his friend, was like, hey, he said he's very direct. He stopped him right in his tracks, like, that's not okay. Like, I need you not to say that word again. So now, 8 years later, he says, what makes you think it's okay to say this to me in any context? And so what I hit him with, so mind you, I was telling my wife about this today, he used the word again with me on the phone. And it triggered me a little bit, but not as much as it did this other guy. But just hearing that word, especially from somebody white, is triggering. But he was explaining the context and everything, and so what I said is, listen, man, like, we have to be impeccable with our word. If we're in this fight to move this country, ourselves forward, it's incumbent on us and me in that number to be impeccable with my word. Meaning, I can no longer joke about being the token black guy. I can no longer joke about, being, fulfilling a quota, like. Right. Or because I'm black, right? And I've done it my whole life.
Of course you have.
Right? It's disarming, it's a defense mechanism, it's a coping mechanism. I've done that. No more. And I told him that. So, but I also said, I had to call him out. I was like, yo, I don't want to bash you. I know you call me because you feel bad. But and he said that he told the guy, hey, never again, it's done. I'll never use it. I was like, but you just used the word with me on the phone. So if you told him that you're done, you cannot then call me and use the word as if it's still okay, like, because he told him, his friend said, in any context, educational, joking, he's like, that's not okay with me. It's not, and he explained it very lovingly, like, it's not. So I'm like, listen, you told this man it's okay, but you call me and use it, like, that's, you gotta be impeccable, you know? And so, like, that's where I'm saying, like, we're taking these steps, but we're taking we're learning. And we have to create space. And we have to give grace, because it's not going to be solved overnight. Yeah, it's not. You know, it's not. And so one more story, if you'll indulge me. A pastor sat in this seat. I've known him for a long time. When I was out of high school, I got connected to their youth group when I was in high school. White Church of Christ. I went to Black Church of Christ. He actually went to ACU too. Him and his wife met there. Okay. So they were married. He was a young guy. Long story short, the mission I lived on when I went to Nicaragua, I remember he brought a youth group there and we reconnected there. So we've just been in touch. He came over here, sat here, we talked for hours. He was like, yo, my wife and I are willing to die on this hill. I can't tell you that, I know you'll know the church, so I'm not gonna mention it. It's in the Metroplex, majority white. And he was like, I know we have a leader in our congregation who's racist. He's like, he espouses racist ideals, you know. We gotta get him out. It's like, me and my wife, we're willing to die on this hill, whether it takes, whether we gotta move, we lose the church. He's the preaching minister at the church. So you know, I'm all fired up. We talked. I had a cigar, some whiskey. He brought a good bottle. You know, when he left, and I told him, I tried to tell everybody, give at least a little kind of synopsis of, hey, this is what I want to say in essence. You know, when I post about our experience, put our picture up. cool. So I was like, his wife and him are willing to down this hill. Blah blah blah. He's willing to call out a white racist leader. Or no, I didn't say white. I said a racist leader in his church. Mm-hmm. Not less than 5-10 minutes texting. Hey, can you edit that word racist out? Like, I'm not really ready to kind of deal with that. It's not. It's just a little strong or something. Or essentially asking me to change that because we have mutual friends that might see it and might feel a type of way. The long and the short of it is the mutual friend he's talking about is somebody we both agreed on is most likely racist. Mm-hmm. We both agreed on it, but there was a connection to this person financially and the church and everything. So I knew at that point we're not going down this hill. Yeah. You can't say like that. Means you cannot come here and say that and then. I was on 100. I was in bed. I had the covers over my head. He was like, "Can we talk?" I was like, "It's done." I was like, and I let him have it too. Man. I was not using nice words either. Like I let him have it. Like I'll change it. I'm fucking pissed. Like I mean, honestly, I just told him it. But in that moment, he saw it. And what I'm getting at is he learned from that. As painful as that was for him, it was equally as painful for me. But I knew I needed to sleep on it, and the next day I knew I needed to forgive him. Not because I think I owe it to him, but because talking to my neighbor. I went over and talked to him Sunday. I was like, Ryan, I got to talk to you. Help me understand what his mindset might have been. I literally was like, I need your counsel in this because he's a clergyman. Mm-hmm. And he helped me see, like, yeah, if you're saying, like, this is your fight, because he came over and sat on this patio. He was like, then you can't run. You can't back out. You have to show up. Right. And it starts as simple as saying, hey, I just want to check back in to get my like something I never even thought about. But that's me really being willing to down this hill. It's meaning continue to re-engage. You bump your head, you say something wrong, you miss that. I'm not going to cast you away. Right?
That's right.
And that's what people have to know. And I think even coming here and sitting down, people are so nervous. I'm learning that. They're so nervous. I didn't want to say the right thing. I didn't know if it was the right time to reach out. Somehow we have to push past that. Mm-hmm. Because we have to see the humanity in each other right now. Especially people of color need to be seen by people who have lived a life of privilege, whether knowingly or unknowingly. We have to have that right now.
Yeah. I'm so glad you shared that story with me. That doesn't surprise me one bit. First of all, that you helped a brother to see, and secondly, you forgave. That's your heart, and that's why you do need to lead in this particular time. We need your voice. We need your voice, and so the teacher becomes the student. And I need you. I'm not just saying this. I need you to help me know what I need to know, and I need to know what I can do that is different from any good feelings and agreement that I might have had before. Any kind of solidarity in thought, in spirit. I need to know what you need from me.
I think for me, you showing up, you coming here was more than anything. I think it's not so much what I need from you because you've given me so much, and well, I love you to death. I mean that's real. Like you say those words as a, you know that. But I think if I could give any type of advice or any type of perspective, it would be, and I think to an extent you probably know this, you probably live this, so you can cut me off at any time. What I'm telling people, because people have asked me, hey, what can I do? And I think what I found for me personally that I think is one of the most powerful and the smallest gestures that anybody from a place of privilege and the majority representation this country can do to bridge this gap of mistrust that we inherently have because of our traumas and experiences. Just recognize the humanity in a person of color when you're out and about. Meaning, you're 6 feet from somebody at a grocery store. Like, there's always an undercurrent of fear. There's always an undercurrent of mistrust, an undercurrent of suspicion as a person of color. And I don't care who you, I promise you, if you ask somebody and they take a second to look in this, they'll be like, yeah, probably. So for instance, if I'm behind you at a store, I'm 6 feet behind, I see you with your groceries, you turn around with your mask on and you say, hey, how you doing today? You having a good day? You know, make a little joke, oh, sure, it's hot outside, whatever. That is one of the most disarming interactions a black person can have in a day. I'm just telling you, because we have this undercurrent of fear, suspicion, and mystery behind, you know, white people, especially older white people. And so, and especially depending on the neighborhood you go to, where you're at, it could be a convenience store, it could be a grocery store, like no matter, especially here in DFW, if you're in a certain part of town, that could be that person's only interaction with a white person, right? And so they might see white people all in this one vein, but they have this one experience where somebody recognized their humanity and they say they're not that bad. And maybe it is somebody who has malintent in their heart, and maybe your interaction to recognize that humanity stops that. You know, like it's that, that's so small, but that's a brick. And if we keep building these bricks, we're going to bridge that gap. I truly, truly believe that. And it's so small.
That's so good, Donovan. And I do need to hear that, because my natural tendency and personality is just to be friendly. You know, I'm going to be friendly pretty much to anybody. But it has never entered my mind that I might need to dispel the fear in someone, that my presence would make someone who's black fearful. I didn't think of that, but I'll guarantee you I will think of it till I die.
100%. You're gonna be at some point when this all hopefully ends and you know life gets back to whatever sense of normalcy we experience. You're gonna be in an elevator with a person of color, and they're gonna be nervous. I talk about this in my company, and I half the people, more than half, I know them all, love them all. But when I'm in an elevator as the only person of color, I feel myself. I feel that. When I'm in an elevator with people I don't know, I'm even more aware. And somebody spoke about, we had a work call today earlier, and he was just sharing his experience with, you know, a woman moving her purse from close to him to, you know, scooting against the wall. These are all of these unannounced biases and prejudices that we just live with, but we recognize them. And what do? We get off the elevator and go about our lives. But these traumas, these are micro traumas. You know, people talk about microaggressions, but these are micro traumas that build and build and build and build. And so I think if we can just start to recognize the humanity, we're gonna break down those walls. It's so small. Like what? That doesn't take any particular talent. It takes no degree. It takes no field of study.
You're right.
A little bit of effort. That's it.
Hey, it helps if you have a communication degree, don't you think?
That's a very expensive communication degree, but yeah, you know, I guess. I had some good teachers, I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
I had some really good teachers.
A few.
I had some really good teachers.
No, that's really insightful to me. I had never considered that. Never.
Yeah. It's so small, but so powerful.